On this lovely afternoon, we are tuning in once again for your favorite happy hour podcast. So let's talk about it.
Yes. We're going around the world today, which is a topic of our podcast. And we have an extremely special guest today.
Yes.
Much
Welcome,
awaited.
Manny, one of my closest friend. She's here from Dubai. So from around the world, right back to Montreal. Where I met her.
Dubai to MTL. Thank you so much for being here.
Yay.
So excited to be with you, lovely
She's
ladies.
very beautiful.
Already, well, so
wanna
are
see
you.
her.
Already impressed by all your presents.
My goodness, where do we start? I think I have a question for you, Manny, because like you've been living in Dubai for almost 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what is you would say like the biggest difference between Montreal and Dubai?
I would say probably the biggest difference that you'll notice right away is just the way things operate.
Okay.
So it's a lot more calm in Dubai. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Very calm.
Okay.
Very calm. So people are not as expressive.
Okay.
They're more private.
Okay.
You'd never hear an argument on the street. You'd never see people fighting. You never see people dancing. You never see people kissing or hugging.
Okay.
You never see people play fighting. So you just get used to, but there's all of that going on. You
Behind
just
the
don't
scenes.
see it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So that's the hardest part to get used to. Although, and sometimes it's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like very serene, right?
Yes, very serene.
Okay.
And would
Yeah.
you say the weather over there affects people? Like it influences your life, right? Because it's hot over there. Like
I mean, I think sunshine makes you happy.
Right.
So for me, it really makes me happy. It's a lot easier. I'm a lot less moody. Like, I love Montreal. It's always be a part of my heart. But I just truthfully find that when I'm there, I'm just happy because I don't think about the weather. I can do anything I want. But then when it starts getting really hot,
yeah. What's really hot in Dubai?
like when I left, it was 57.
Because that's to us that's extreme. Like us, really
Yeah.
hot is like 30 degrees.
57, what would that be in Fahrenheit?
A lot. Pretty much. I'm not sure.
I am not Googling
you've
under the
lived-
influence.
But Manny's lived before in another type of desert. You lived in Arizona.
That's true, but
Right?
so different. Yeah.
Exactly. So what would you say, because they're both deserts, desert weather, what would you say would be the difference? Because they say there's something about living in the desert. What is it about living in the
Probably
desert?
the spiritual element is the same because it's just peaceful. There's something about the desert that's peaceful, maybe because you can see. You can just look out forever and there's nothing blocking your view. There's something spiritual about it, like maybe just the nomad aspect, like people are wandering. So I don't know, and probably because Arizona is one of the most transient states in the United States.
Yeah.
And Dubai is extremely transient as well. People coming and going.
Right.
So yeah, I think that was the most similar part. But I mean, some people move to Dubai and hate it. So it's not good for everyone. It's just good for me. That's all I care about.
What do you love about it?
I love the different cultures.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I-
there's many different cultures.
Yeah,
in
there
Dubai.
is. Like you can walk into a room. Like obviously I teach Pilates and I'm in the fitness business, and so a lot of my time is spent around women. But I can walk into a room and one will be from Kenya, one will be from Germany, one will be from Sweden, one will be from the UK, one will be from Israel. Then there'll be an Emirati in the room, and it's like you just really can't find that anywhere else in the world. I don't think.
Wow.
So it's
Yeah.
interesting how we have a perspective of the, the Middle East, and, people have a stereotype that it's, it's very closed off and whatnot. But with what Manny's saying, it's like pretty much a melting pot. So there has to be a big acceptance of other cultures and other ways of life, and even down to religion, right?
Well, yeah, and absolutely. And I also find too that like there's a book, I don't know, have you girls read Oprah's new book out called What I Know for Sure?
Yes,
Yes.
we
Haven't?
I have
Oh
it.
yeah, it's so
Asa
good.
lent it to me.
It's so good. And like the thing is, I love that book. And one thing is like I could have tried to imagine 1,000 million times over what Dubai would be like.
Yeah.
And you could never, you can't know until you do it. So what I know for sure is that you don't know what you don't know. So you have to go there and see it. And I would have never imagined the melting pot.
Right.
I would have never thought in a million years that like a Muslim and a Christian and a Catholic and a Buddhist would all be sitting in the same room having coffee and getting along really well.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't think that.
So that's
awesome.
something you
Yeah.
could see in Dubai. You could go to a
100%.
cafe. Because I've never been to Dubai, and a lot of people go to Dubai from where I'm from, And Nigerians they love Dubai. But here we have a big melting pot here. I feel that the culture being the way it is here, while you get a melting pot of people, they do tend to turn into their environment. There's some that really stay. There is a relaxing, I find, about being able to express yourself here, and somehow they turn into a bit of a melting pot in their own way that way. But in Dubai, I've always imagined, because it is, I'm assuming more, what's the word I'm looking for? Conservative.
Yeah.
And in the maintenance of that, they have to enforce rules a little bit more stringently. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I wonder how the cultures express themselves there, like how Canadian,
opposed to here, where people, let's say, Italians could still have their live in North America, but have their culture. Mm-hmm. Same with someone that's Chinese. For instance, me, Latin culture, I could still go out in Montreal and pretty much live my own culture, you know? How are foreigners able to do that in Dubai?
Well, I think they are because they make up 80% of the population.
Wow.
So only 20% is the locals.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So the locals are a huge minority, and that's why they have so many laws put in place to protect them.
Yeah.
And that's why no one can get citizenship or immigration status there. No one.
No one, huh?
No one.
Oh.
So not unless you're Emirati.
How about if you marry someone that's Emirati?
Yeah. If you marry an Emirati, you can.
Okay.
But you have to become Muslim. And everything has to. You cannot marry an Emirati and stay Christian and have you have to convert completely.
Okay.
So you have. Do people really practice there? Like really practice Islam? Because I mean, if they're asking you to convert, that means that there's a certain amount of getting involved in the community to make sure that you do maintain that.
I would say that's the overall vibe of the whole entire city. Like you can't. I think that if you choose to live, like for instance in the marina, it's like a made up Vegas and Miami mixed together. Mm-hmm. If you choose to live there and not ever know a local or not ever meet a Lebanese or not ever become friends with a Pakistani person or an Indian person, well then fair enough, maybe you won't notice anybody's culture because you're going from Starbucks to a hotel back to your apartment. It's possible.
Yeah.
I'm sure people do it. Right. But I mean, I guess it's like anywhere, right? In Montreal, you can choose to go into different areas of Montreal and get to know the different people. You can do it there. I just don't feel, I think it's a really good point to make, because I just don't feel that Dubai's successful right now they're not successful at all at letting you kind of express yourself. Your culture.
Right.
No. I would say it's definitely Islam is definitely, because there's still prayer time 5 times a day. It goes over loudspeakers.
Right.
So you're constantly hearing the Islamic prayers.
Okay.
Which is
and
interesting
I love them.
because the decor is so... most of it is very modern,
Right.
you know, but what I find interesting is the thin line, because you can't express your culture, but of what I've seen of Dubai, they take all the top, let's say, restaurants, top everything from around the world, and they perfect it and bring it back to Dubai.
Right.
So you could go right to Dubai
100%.
and oh my God, even in a mall, apparently there's like they make a man-made ski hill.
What?
You could have probably the best burger that you'd have in the world in Dubai,
Right.
and all these even very American things.
They're very good at mimicking.
Very good at mimicking.
Yes.
So at the same time, I guess, you know, Dubai's also made of that, right?
It is, and I think the fascinating thing is the sheikhs do travel the world, and they are really, when they fall in love with something, they want it, and they want it done the best way. They're a little bit like Italians in that way. They think they're the best. This is for sure, which is cool.
I think we all do in a way, right?
We all kind of, but they like to have a luxury, and they like to, like if they see a Japanese restaurant, they get the best chef because they can afford. They get the best view of that Japanese venue, and they'll display it to you in a way that's like, wow, I feel like I'm in Japan. But it doesn't have that. They still haven't been successful at bringing that tiny little bit of authenticity.
I was just about to ask you that. I was going to ask you how they bring their own culture. Because, for where I'm in Nigeria, we've adopted, excellence is an interesting word. We are excellent, but we are hustlers, okay?
Yes, we all know this.
So
we love you anyways.
All the kids now are going to malls and they're going to watch movies and they have Burger King, like they have this lifestyle. They like to mimic the West a lot. But they're now learning to bring their own culture. They're like the polarity between that culture and America is starting to lessen and it's blending. There's an authenticity to our satire, if you will, of American culture. But in Dubai, I wonder how they can bring what's native to them and still blend it with what they're picking up because they're so excellent, like you said, at mimicking. So I imagine whatever they do like that would be like, whoa.
Can I ask you something, Manny? Because you've also lived in Japan, right?
Yes.
All right. The Japanese too are very good at mimicking.
Yeah, they are.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
Down
I'd say
to classical music.
Down to dance hall.
Anything. It'd be reggae
Yeah, the
or
dance
hip
hall
hop
keys are
or
Japanese,
classical music.
100%.
No, but some of the best classical orchestras are actually also from Japan.
Yeah.
How interesting is that in your opinion, in everybody's opinion, that these cultures are so, obviously they have a fascination and an interest in other cultures. So why is it the mimic is so excellent? Would you agree in Japan as well?
I'd say probably Japan is a little bit more, they can execute things a little bit because Japan they like rules.
Right.
And that's the thing, Emiratis are not like that. They like rules, like in Japan. I don't know.
No one Deanne wants to go live
They
there.
like rules. I mean, I remember when they first got Subway.
Structure, right?
Yeah, structure. They don't go outside of the lines.
Okay.
So that's why they're so good at it. Like, 'cause they don't go outside of the lines. They'll see something and they'll want to perfect it right to that T.
Right.
I don't think I've seen that in Dubai, but it's similar in the sense that they like to obviously have the influence of the West, like she was saying about Nigeria. I think all countries do because the West is so
predominant.
Yeah, it is.
That's why when you come here, you become here. Not always, but you kind of do become the environment more than I imagine. You can't really become Dubai.
Do you know what? I think that's the beauty of Canada.
But I wonder how that works.
I think that's the beauty of Canada because I'll tell you something. You know, in the United States, you know, of course it's built on a lot of immigration, but the whole mentality in the United States, this is why you have African American, Italian American, Chinese American, Lan American. You have to become American. So in a way, it's like you are allowed to have your culture, but you have to blend.
Yeah.
And they make it very obvious.
Right.
Opposed to, for instance, in Europe, which is as we're talking about Dubai and Japan and the United States. You see, I find Europe, they're fascinated also about the American culture and other cultures, and they'll bring some elements, but they're very nationalist. So if you're living in France or you're living in Spain or you're living in England, it's their culture first. I find we're very fortunate actually in Canada because of all the places I've seen and the people I've spoken to, like Manny's lived in places I have not. We're very fortunate in Canada because you really feel the cultures. Like going out, for instance, in Montreal, it's not just going to an Italian restaurant or going to a Greek restaurant. You could really immerse yourself in the culture's activities, and the people I find still keep their authenticity. They keep their culture very present in their very everyday life, and we feel it in the city, you know? And I think Canada in general has that advantage opposed to a lot of countries in the world and continents. I think it's actually really great.
It feels like very porous ground here. Like there isn't anything really in place. Like Italy has been a civilization.
But the United States,
I don't
same
know.
as Canada.
It's true. I don't know.
So we're
just
lucky.
very nice people. We are.
I think we do, and I think we just love different cultures. Like I think we really immerse as Canadians. I think people really immerse themselves. Like when people ask me about my culture, they're really like it's not just curiosity. They really want to like. They get really proud, and it's like, you know, they really get into it.
Right.
Deanne, Asa?
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I'm listening. I like listening.
I don't know. There was one thing. I mean, you had mentioned Arizona, Manny, and I remember, you know,
I went to Arizona to visit my aunt when I was 13. It was my first time getting on a plane and going elsewhere, and it was really exciting. But when I got there, I remember one thing that really surprised me is how friendly people were, you know? And I always thought Montreal was super friendly.
No,
but
I don't.
but it's crazy. But by traveling, going there, I didn't understand. My aunt would walk by and be like, "Hello, sir," you know, and
do you know him?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, "Do you know this man?" She's like, "No." Are you? That's it. She's never gonna see the dude again. But she said hi to him, and they smiled, and I went back home. There was something about that I carried with me at home, because I was like, wow, we don't do that here.
Do you know, I found
we're not as friendly.
I've experienced that a lot in the States. I don't know if it's me. Some places I've had horrible experiences.
Yeah.
Racist experiences.
Yeah.
But, you know, like people always say how New Yorkers, you know, they're cold, they're this. Personally, every time I go to New York, I'm like, people are really friendly with me. So like, I'll be on the street, when I sneeze, someone turns around, bless you, or like, hey, how are you, or hi, or if I ask somebody, where do you want to, like, could you give me directions? They'll be very friendly. I don't find Montreal's that friendly in that way.
Well, I don't know. I'll be waiting for the train in New York, and I love that you can have a conversation with a complete stranger, and there's no pressure to keep it going. They just start right where it starts. There's no like, hi, my name is Bob and I'd like to talk to you about. No, it's like, did you see that guy?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah,
but New York,
that.
yeah,
And then you get off the train. That
New
was
Yorkers
that.
are just so direct. They're just,
I love it.
They're just real, you know. It's just, we're in the moment, and New York's another melting pot in the world, right? It's like so many cultures, and I find that New York was actually able to keep that a little bit like Montreal, where you could feel the different cultures. You could go and have a Russian experience or a Chinese experience or whatever experience in New York, you know.
But maybe it's what you kind of believe is what experience you'll have.
Yeah.
Because when I hadn't been to Paris until 2 years ago, and you know I was never interested in going to Paris. I think I'm the only girl on the planet that wasn't interested in going to Paris.
I love Paris. I miss it.
But I love it now.
You loved it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite places.
You're too much of a romantic not to love Paris.
I don't know about you girls if you've been there, but everyone told me that Parisians were super unfriendly, and I absolutely did not find that at all, and I don't speak French.
I lived there for years.
Wow.
I've lived there for years, and I didn't think they were unfriendly at all. I miss it.
And if you think New York is a melting pot, if you think New York is open, if you think New Yorkers are nice, and you go there and think you could be
I love
anything
New
you
Yorkers.
want, then that's
I love
what it's
New
going
York.
to
I
be.
think
I love New York.
I really agree with you where that's concerned, is that you really are we had this episode about ego. You reflect what you're gonna get in any environment.
I guess that's true.
But I'm not saying that, woe is y'all in Montreal. It's just sometimes maybe you're just called to a place, and so you can actually tap in to that place and then get what you're there, and you're feeling yourself, and so you can allow the good that is from that environment to come to you.
How is it for you, Lady Andy? Like,
New York?
No, Nigeria opposed to Canada, like.
Wow.
Because you were actually
That's
you were born and raised in Nigeria.
This show is only an hour long.
I will prepare my thesis for you. It might be ready in 3 months.
Just give us some like, what are, you know what? Give us some
highlights.
good points.
Yeah,
good points opposed to here that you would like, that you miss about Nigeria. And then the opposite. What would you bring from here to Nigeria?
Wow. I would bring safety to women into Nigeria, because our women are very
vulnerable,
interesting. Well, we're vulnerable in the system, but certain women are actually, which is, it's a real belief pot. Like, I would bring
of tragedies. Happen there.
a lot of tragedy, but I mean at the same time, it's about prestige too. It's like being like, you can't access me. I will not be walking on the street, which is, to me, one of the saddest things about Nigeria, because we have there's so much that people are missing out of because they just want to be higher up in the culture and to separate themselves. So that's the thing. I wish there was more security and freedom for women to feel safe to go out
and express
themselves. Accessing themselves, like being able to be themselves and feel safe. Well, it's always about safety.
Right.
I think I'll come to Canada. I don't know. I love Canada. Love Canada. I come back home like, I love you.
But what do you love about Nigeria, girl?
I'm bringing
Oh,
Nigeria.
okay, sorry. I was like,
I'm bringing Nigeria.
Yeah.
One thing I love about Nigeria is that people really want to excel and to access information and to be involved. There's people who feel like they're behind the veil and they can't access, and they're trying. They're like, I will make, it out of like a tin foil, whatever. They'll make a drum. They become very intelligent and they have access to their own agency. And so when they come out, they do well. They want to go to the best schools when they have access. And here it's something that is just, it's yours.
Yeah.
It's yours.
So there's no
But
fighting.
there's a huge
there's no-
development in Nigeria, like just worldwide. There's
Sorry?
a lot of businesses coming out of Nigeria now.
Yes.
Business-wise, IT-wise, entertainment,
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
Out of a lot of
Yeah.
African countries, like
Yeah.
Nigeria is really, really out there now.
Up there, yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
joie de vivre. There's like
Yeah.
just they have
Oh, you
a
like
taste-
luxury in Nigeria? That's
a luxury, but just joy.
Yeah.
They like if there was a station called Joy, they would find it first. So it explodes in everything they do. It explodes
Right.
in their clothes. It explodes in how they love. They're very passionate. They're crazy. And
A little bit like my culture.
yeah, pretty much. And here I find that people kind of die in
Yeah.
themselves a lot. They don't have support. They don't have a support system really set in place like families and around. So yeah, I don't know, but I find it's a beautiful melting pot. For me, it's beautiful to see both sides. Yeah.
You're talking about people who, they die inside themselves. And I was just, I went to the Jazz Fest because we have the Festival International du Jazz every year in Montreal, right?
Yeah.
And,
Jazz Fest, yeah.
The Jazz Fest, yes. Our Jazz Fest every year. And I went, and it was crazy where there's this big stage, this artist is ripping it, like, is amazing, And I mean, 78 to 90% of the people standing there are just like, they want to dance, but they're not moving, and they have like little twitches here and
I
there.
find that
They're
so
not-
sad. I
They're
don't
not
understand
letting
it.
loose. They're not.
I don't
they're
get it.
not allowing themselves to experience it, and and they want permission to feel.
How they feel.
Yeah, exactly. And you can that's why the crowds respond. Like when the artist is like, "Put your hands up," everyone's like, "Yeah!"
Yeah.
But they want to be told what to do. They can't just.
That's
They
sad.
can't just do it.
Yeah, I
you
think
know?
that's a
Yeah.
stigma of North America, actually. With
It's
that,
a lack
I
of.
find quite
I feel it's
sad.
like a lack of grounding.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's a complete lack of grounding in people here, and it exhibits itself in so many different ways. Even the fact that we have so many,
Skyscrapers.
skyscrapers. Everything is high up. It's all here, and people don't sit in themselves. And there, they sit in themselves too much. I'm like, get off the toilet.
I agree, but what I actually find a little bit sad. Well,
It's
not
an
a
angry
little.
poop.
I'll be honest. I find sad about North American culture, which I find a lot of amazing things. But one thing I find very sad is the disconnection with, just basic things that you enjoy in life, people, moments, food, connection. Dancing,
Exactly.
music,
Flirting.
like in
Your hips.
well, in my culture, I'm Latina. Everything is based around music, food, and family and friends.
Yeah.
But I actually really cherish that, and I think it's a beautiful thing because people take the time to eat. But it's not about the food only, although it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Although
food.
it is.
I brought you guys all experienced
Yes, we
Argentinian
did.
food. Yes.
We need to go back.
Yes,
Atelier
actually, that's a good
d'Argentine.
place. We should go there.
My girls in the kitchen.
No,
Shout
but what's I was raised to have dinner with my family,
Yeah.
and it wasn't about the food we were eating. Like I said, it's still good food.
Yes.
Very good food. But besides that, it's the time shared.
Yeah.
It's the time shared. It's the time shared with your friends, with your family. It's that connection. And I think it's the same with music. And I think it's the same. It's joie de vivre. You said the word joie de vivre, which I think is very important, and it's lacking here. Like, I go to restaurants here and I see couples or even friends just sitting there on their phone saying not one word to each other.
Yeah.
I
And not
go
even,
out
like,
like
tasting the food.
Maddie and I, for instance, will go somewhere and you can't shut us up. Like literally, if we weren't so concerned how we are perceived, we'd probably be there till closing time, which we've done many, many, many times.
Yeah.
And we forget almost about the food we're eating or the drinks we're having. We're so into our conversation and the connection that we have, and you know, it's important.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the whole experience of eating, and it's something they have in Europe.
Yeah, they definitely have it in Dubai. 'Cause
And
family,
they have it in Dubai.
Family
Very
is really
important.
important.
Family and friends and connection, human connection, and same with the music, and same with its culture. You know, and here there is North American culture.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? When I lived in France, I actually discovered Quebec culture.
Huh.
I didn't know Quebec had really like a menu, like some really traditional food.
Yeah, there's like a
or what
music
anything,
folklore.
or even American.
Yeah.
Until I was living in Paris, and they were doing these like American festivals or this Quebec festival, and I'm like, okay, I never even tasted these dishes when I was living in America.
That's the thing.
You know, and it's like we live here,
Yeah.
and I know every other culture, Italian, Greek.
Lebanese.
From many different African, Ukrainian, you name it. But do I know a lot about the Canadian culture? Not really.
That's what I find.
Same with the
yeah.
United States.
Yeah.
Not
It's
really.
interesting. It's interesting how that happens. I find that tourists, when people come and visit Montreal, they teach me stuff
Oh, me
that
too.
I don't know about my city. I was
Me too.
born here, and there were so many things
Me
that
too.
I don't know about my city. You know, and that's what I find beautiful about
I
traveling.
relive it. I
Yeah.
relive Montreal, and I'm like, oh, it's such a beautiful city.
Yeah.
But
when people come
talking
in.
about traveling, I remember when I went to Australia, and we find that Australians are perceived as being very reckless. You know,
Really?
they're like, yeah.
I don't perceive them like that at all.
Crocodile
No,
hunt.
I don't.
No, but the overall, maybe you personally, but the overall
I met in
feel
BC,
of
very
Australians
sweet
is that
people.
they're reckless. You know, they'll do anything. You know, it's like jump off a cliff. I'll do it. Like, you know what I mean?
That's what
But
they're known for.
When I was there, I noticed that, like, that recklessness is kind of like an honesty. Like, I'll give you an example. You're on the bus, okay? So you get on the bus, and let's say you have like a big bag or whatever. You're gonna leave it to the front of the bus. Like, everybody leaves their big luggage, big bags, whatever, to the front of the bus, and then you might have to go sit in the back.
Yeah.
So you don't have an eye on your thing. Do you understand what I mean?
But people trust.
But people do that
Yeah.
all the time. They get in, take their big ass bag, just throw it in the front, and go sit all the way in the back. And I was with my friend, and I was like, what is happening?
Wow.
You know? And I was at a bar, and this girl is there with her purse, and she sits down, she puts the purse next to her, and then she gets up, she goes to the bathroom, and I'm like, oh my god, she forgot her purse. She comes back, she takes her phone, drops it in her purse, and goes back to the bathroom.
Maddie, that would be a great.
And there was
that
no
would be
one with
good for
her.
you.
She was alone.
Wow.
She was waiting for her
Your bag
friends.
open.
Wow.
And I was just like,
That's awesome. I love that.
and like people will give you back your stuff. You know what I mean? Like they're super honest.
I love
But you
that.
know what? Going back to what Manny was saying about that, honestly, it's true. I do think that your thoughts about whatever situation you're in do create your reality, because the other day I thought I lost my phone. You were all witnesses,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it happens a lot. But I lost my phone, and I was like, I'm not even gonna entertain the idea that someone took it and is not giving it back. I know I'm getting my phone back today.
Yeah.
I'm getting it back.
Yeah.
That's just what's happening, you know? And, you know, what happened was I went to the information desk, and finally, like 2 hours later,
Yeah.
they found it. Someone kindly brought my phone back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
But I
it
think
happens all the time.
It does, but I think what Deanne's saying is like it's as a whole.
Yeah.
Like,
As
like,
a culture.
Generally,
They-
they're honest
they've
people.
adopted-
It's just like when I went to Germany, I was
Seriously.
really, really shocked
yeah.
that I was walking around, didn't know Germany, and people were like, "Oh, you're from out of town. Would you like to come for dinner?" You know, just like, really, do you need a place to stay?
What?
They just open their doors,
Are
like
you a
in
psychopath?
modern days, you know, and like, you know, here we're very like, I don't know you. It's like even when someone says hello on the street, people look at you like you're an alien.
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
what do you want? You must
I
have
have
a hidden
money.
agenda. but it shocked me. You know, like in Germany, they were very, and you know, everybody has stereotypes. And I'm not gonna lie, when I got to Europe, I had stereotype about Germany, and actually, I found them to be very open, very hospitable, very open-minded, very generous.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Like I asked for directions, they brought me to where I was. They're like, no, let me show you. And really with no hidden agenda whatsoever.
But you know, talking about
so
Germans,
there's cultures where, like what you were saying
Where
about
it's
Australia,
honest.
where people is just how they are.
Yeah.
but talking about Germans, and I think Manny, you can back me up on that because you traveled a lot. I discovered that when you travel somewhere and there are no Germans, leave. In the sense that like Germans,
I
they're
agree.
everywhere.
I agree.
They are literally they travel
agree.
everywhere. So
Yeah.
if you're somewhere and there's like no Germans,
run.
this is a war zone.
Actually, you know what? There's a lot of Germans that travel to Argentina.
Yeah.
And they're so cute because they even try to really adopt the like tango and the Argentinian culture. And I noticed that they're a culture that really, really loves other cultures. And they really get into it, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's just, it's fascinating to me. But
And
you're
they
right,
leave,
Dee.
and they leave for like months
Yeah.
on end, you know? Australians do
in the
that a lot.
there are a lot of them are in the
Do?
Caribbean as
do.
well.
Yeah.
But that's the
Yeah.
thing, you're talking about, you know, cultures that fascinate you. You don't have to come from there to be really fascinated, you know, and I think
I am.
like
Totally fascinated by
I keep mentioning Brazil. I don't know, and
Just
I'm
go
gonna,
to Brazil.
I'm gonna
Go to
tell you.
Brazil.
Just
Where
go
the,
there.
I'm gonna
They'll-
tell you where the story
They're gonna
began.
sponsor you, girl.
So at home we had a tape, you know, VHS cassettes. You know, my dad recorded this show. It was like this dance show, and I remember being maybe 6, 7 years old, even maybe younger. And I remember it was a dance show mixed in with acting and just all those things that I love. And I remember it was the first time I saw women naked. They were naked. They had these beautiful head something. How do you call it? Headpieces. Thank you. They had these beautiful headpieces, and they were dancing. And I remember it was the first time I saw naked women in all their splendor. Like it was so graceful, and I think that's what made me realize the beauty of our bodies, you know, as women. And there's something about that stuck with me. And meanwhile, they're dancing samba, and they look like royalty.
But that's something I'm proud
like
of.
goddesses.
That's something I'm proud about my culture. I find there's a lot of sensuality in women.
Yeah.
And it's expressed through many different ways, through dancing, but even gestures, our passion, our, you know, it's
That's
just,
the thing, and
yeah.
I find that really
It's
to
very
this
predominant.
Day, like I keep talking
Yeah.
about Brazil and wanting to go to Brazil, and I
Well,
think
that is South America, girl.
I mean, hey, my desire was born from that little VHS tape. Thank you, Daddy. Because honestly, like seeing those women dancing the samba, so classy and so graceful, and the
Sensual.
music
And powerful.
It's so
They're
And
naked
there's a
and
look in their
powerful.
eyes
Very
like they're
powerful.
supposed to be there.
exactly.
And
yeah.
one thing I wish, I guess it was strange, it just popped up when you asked me about Nigeria, and I said for women right away, is that I find the feminine is expressed as a very angry woman there. Like a
interesting.
very angry, vindictive. I'm not saying all women are like that, but angry, vindictive, cunning, conniving, victim, aggressor.
So you would say that stereotype is true?
That stereotype, like there's a lot of backbiting around women, like within women, like even when you watch our stories, it's always about two women getting it at, because we're constantly being dumped. I feel like they dump all the the anger onto women. So I never got to, we have like our dance, we have our dances.
What's it called? Like, what's the main?
Yeah.
You don't remember?
I'm Igbo, and from away we have ʻkəlCHər. That's what I know it's called.
ʻkəlCHər?
ʻkəlCHər. That's what we do.
ʻkəlCHər.
And other people have different dances. I don't know them all.
Cool.
And it's very beautiful. And you know, when you hear the music,
love
you're like,
watching that.
but it just, something about women I don't feel like they can express themselves as sexual women, like without being like, hey, come fuck me now, fuck everybody, fuck you. You know?
But wait a minute.
But just-
Even in the dance, I think there's some
But
sexuality in it.
It's a bit repressed.
It's not overt. you
It's
mean.
I feel it's like captured and contained
Oh, okay.
and controlled and so
It's been told where to go.
yeah and I remember relationships with women and how they carried themselves. There was always like.
Well, this is an interesting topic.
But is it? Yeah. Would you say it's because of that sense of oppression? Like, if everything's always dumped on you, then like, isn't it hard to, not be vindictive and angry?
I use the word dumped, like prematurely.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I don't really understand what that's about, but I've seen it in polygamous environments, or women with other girlfriends. Like there's always a competition. Who's going to be the best? Who's going to be this? It's always about who's going to be the best, the better woman, the one with the bigger car, with a better husband, and they have, I'm not speaking for all women there. We have beautiful, amazing, graceful, lovely women. I know many of them, but that's the tempo. That's the story. You have to compete so that your son gets what he needs when your the father dies, and these are your sister wives, and you can't, there's always power plays around women. And it's exhausting to me. It's like literally, it's almost a joke. It says, there's this thing we do called, it's the cut-eye. It's like almost like a check mark. Like you're gonna meet a woman, she's gonna cut you eye. And it's stupid.
Yeah,
it's so stupid. It's so and it's so sad.
Would you say that the competition is oftentimes revolving around a man?
From what I've seen, it's always revolving around. It was always revolving around a man because. I remember women who would have great degrees and be very intelligent and make their own money, which was still rare, at least when I was younger. If they didn't have a husband, they were still treated like.
But it's social
like
standards,
right?
It's social beneath.
Status.
It was status.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it's changing,
Right.
but it seems to always revolve around a man. And I'm like, have you met our men? I love our men, but
I'll say one thing: they do not give up, Nigerian men. Oh my lord!
Yes, they're persistent and they're
Very
lovely.
persistent.
They're
Anyways,
lovely, but
that's
still,
all I'll say.
It's just the feminine is repressed, so the masculine gets
Right.
repressed. The
Well,
masculine gets challenged to grow.
that's something I'd love to ask Manny. Like, you have friends that are locals in
Yeah, I'm
Dubai.
very close to
So,
some
what
of
is it? What could you tell us about the women over there? And something, is there something you want to share with us that would demystify maybe a stereotype we have in in the Occidental world about the Middle East women?
Yeah.
Well, I think I can't say Middle
Very good
East because I
question.
don't think Dubai represents the Middle
Dubai.
East.
Dubai, sorry.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Like,
in
and I
Dubai.
have to clarify that because there's absolutely
please
Dubai
do.
is an entity of its own.
Yes.
The other Emirates are not even similar.
Okay.
They would even have different laws going into the other
Oh,
Emirates.
okay.
Dubai is very like a free zone in a lot of ways. But I have had the great, I guess my job being so hands-on, like intimate, because you get to spend time alone with women. So obviously they unveil. So even if they're covered, you see them uncovered. And they wear Lululemon,
That's very
and they wear
Yeah.
very sexy workout clothes.
Really?
Yeah, they love to,
They're gorgeous.
and they're just
Yeah, I heard
gorgeous.
they're gorgeous. I heard they're very sexy underneath their, what do you call their...
Habayas.
Habayas. Okay.
And I went to my first Emirati wedding, and it's obviously, the Emirati weddings, it's only women that go to the women's side. So there was 1,500 women.
Wow.
Whoa.
And
Interesting.
it's interesting because it's interesting the way that they do things and the way, like Andy was saying, like the way women have been oppressed. And yeah, women have been oppressed obviously in that region as well. And obviously in Dubai, coming from Canada, you're not going to have the same rights as an Emirati woman as you would as a Canadian woman, obviously, because they have different faith, different culture. But it's interesting because they're exactly like us. Exactly. And
What do
they
you
even
mean?
have some of the same jokes, and they think the same way, and they interpret men the same way.
Like women are women,
Like there's
right? All over.
there's no difference. Like
That's
they're
so
like,
cool.
oh, he was a player, and he's a player, and he's a pretty boy. He only likes Western women. So, and honestly, I would say they're a little bit more, and I'm not saying, I'd say thank God they're all covered because they're all so beautiful, they'd come here and take all our men. Because when they uncover, they don't dress the way we would at a wedding. They're a lot less conservative.
Yes.
Not all of them, but some of them had very, very short, really sequenced sequence skin tight dresses on with like way
Wow.
higher heels than we'd wear, and it's very acceptable. And they like to be sexy for each other, so it's like as pretty as they can possibly be
For each
for each
other.
other. To
So
show,
for each other, so it's not a competition.
No, but
or
the
is it?
culture is
Oh,
that
okay.
the mothers come and are looking for
Right.
women for their sons.
So,
So they want to look, their culture is always about looking as best as they can when they're uncovered to the women around them. And it's a pride thing too. Like they have a lot of pride. They're about family. And going back to what you guys were talking about, because I thought it was very interesting about how you had kind of felt that Canada, for some reason, people get a little bit lost because they don't have the grounding. I think that probably comes down to just having too much free will. You know? Too much
That we
free
don't
will, too many
appreciate,
choices,
right?
too much saturation,
Yes.
too much information, too many
Yes.
choices.
So we don't
People are like,
appreciate.
yeah, and
Yeah.
but we
Yeah,
don't
we
have
don't
a
even know
grounding,
what to do.
like
Yeah,
Andy
I
was
agree.
saying. And they do, because Fridays you'll take the hottest guy, the hottest Emirati guy in all of Dubai. He could be a top athlete, he could be sexy as all hell, and he's with his family on Friday. And there ain't
Wow.
no two buts about it.
Right.
He's not out with friends.
Right.
It's just part of their culture. It's unacceptable to not be with your family on a Friday.
Right.
You will go to any Emirati person and they will be like, I'm with my family on Fridays.
Yeah.
They ground, they eat together,
It's like-
their whole day and night
Us,
is spent
is,
together.
us it's like that on Sundays or on
Yeah.
the weekend.
Yeah.
We'll have at least one day of the week
Right.
we're with our families, you know, and it's very ingrained in our culture.
Yes.
And I find it, I actually like that about my culture, you
Yeah.
know. And we give a lot of importance to family and friends. It's very important. Even the poorest, there's always food in the house that's being cooked
Yeah.
in bigger quantity because friends might come by.
Yes.
Other families
Yes.
might come by,
Yeah.
and you want to share what you have, even if it's little.
Yeah.
There's something about that, and I think it's beautiful and something that was instilled in me, and I still have that. Whatever I have, I will share.
Yeah.
You know, and it makes me happy, and I think in some way it roots, it grounds you.
It
Like
grounds
you were saying,
you,
Matt,
yeah.
like there's a grounding that comes with that, you know,
Yeah.
and I think it creates a very solid foundation as well.
You know, I love that you said that because it was part of the stuff that I wish I saw here more.
Yeah,
Family,
Me too.
but there's the other side of family too.
Oh yes.
But no, but
I
yeah,
agree.
there's
I think we all agree there. We all agree there.
And what you're saying that we have so much free will. What I do,
Yeah.
I do. Thank you for like I wouldn't have been able to say it, but that's precisely what it is. Is that people here are exhibiting the challenges that come with having a lot of free will, and I don't think free will is a bad thing. That's the thing that I love the most about here. Because when you have free will, you can make choices, and then you can make choices based on you can decide as often as
But
possible.
you could forget too and not appreciate
exactly,
that.
and you can forget and
Listening to Manny, I'm listening that because there's so many like
right.
these regulations, is that people don't take these things for granted. I think that we are on the other extreme.
We're on the other,
You know, and I think because we have all this free will and choices and we could do what we want
Right.
at any time, any given time.
Right.
We take all these things for granted, you know, and
Right.
I think then that causes an opposite effect.
We also have this culture, I hate to say it, but we really have this intense culture in North America, and it's called the culture of cool. Everybody
Culture
wants
of
to
yes,
be cool.
yes.
And everybody wants to be cool.
I think
Yes,
that's our
hashtag the
but that's
culture of
our,
cool, yeah.
our
That's
grounding
very good.
element.
That's the thing.
It's the grounding element for the self-centered individual.
What do
The
you
grounding
mean
element for
by
the
that?
ego.
For
Well,
the
the
ego.
reason why I'm bringing that point up is because I was describing an Emirati guy and I said you could take the hottest athlete and he'll be with his family on Friday. Like, I'm Italian, so of course we had dinner together every single night, and of course we had Sundays.
Right.
But if I wanted to go out with my friends on a Saturday night and spend the night at my friend's house, and I was half in the bed when I came home and on my phone the entire time at my house, that's allowed.
Right. Yeah.
It's absolutely not allowed in their culture. In fact, it's frowned upon, and an older person would say something
Yeah.
like, "Hey, you know,
Yeah.
what's going
What's wrong
on?"
with you?
Yeah.
And the thing is what's wrong with you?
My
And you're-
father was like that. No phone at the table. No.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing?
But you're more
Yeah.
cool in
Yeah.
Dubai if you can balance it all.
All out.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're
Yes.
more cool. Like, people
Yeah.
actually see you as, wow, like
Up there.
he's still faith. He's still reading the Quran, he's still praying, he can go out and be
and get down,
but
Yeah,
he
the
can clean
family's
it up,
there.
and that's
Yes.
and it's what they look for in people. They're a smaller select group, and they just look for balance.
Yeah.
Whereas I find here that people don't want to be perceived as too much faith, too religious, too traditional,
Right.
too conservative, too open. Like we're too worried about the way that people see us when they're
Perceive
more
us.
worried about being loyal to their culture.
Well, I find actually that
Like we don't have
that's to
real
me,
convictions?
to what from my interpretation of it, is just another way of worrying about how people see you, because you're satisfying a list, and I understand that it's very precise. And it's like you have to walk this tightrope and still look fabulous doing it.
Andy, you were talking about how women. Oh, Miss Lady Andy, you were talking about.
Don't forget it.
I won't forget the Miss Lady. I'm sorry. Yeah, you were talking about how a lot of the quarrels are focused on men. But then there's the flip side where there's matriarchal societies going on in our world. For example, in India, the Meghalaya state, the people there. The tribe is called Kasi, right? And it's a matriarchal culture over there. So the families are matrilineal. The children take their mother's last name. The youngest daughter in the family gets the inheritance, and the men move into their mother-in-law's home after marriage. That's pretty interesting, right? Like, I mean, that's definitely not.
Are the
norm.
women the providers in that environment?
No.
Actually, no. Yeah.
The men are still the providers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they say to disrespect the woman here is to harm society. And I find that that's just how it should
That's
be.
amazing. Yes, I need to move now. Forget to
I was gonna say we
I'm
need to
just
let's
like-
just think about it for a second. I don't know if I don't know.
Let's all
But
move there.
you can't
Let's
really
be worshipped.
argue who had the baby.
Yeah.
It's the mother.
It's
you
the
know,
mother.
technically, you can lie about the daddy. Can't really lie
About the mother.
Some people can, but those people really tried.
Well, where I'm
Lie.
from, it's the mother.
Is
So
it?
even if you want to get documents, you
Yeah.
have to go
Through the mother.
Through the mother.
I find that amazing.
I
Yeah,
didn't
for
know
us
that.
it's the mother. It's not the father.
Well,
The name, of course, is
the father.
The father, but if I want to get like Argentinian documents,
Right.
they don't care about my dad. They need all my
It's all about
mother's
the mom.
information. Yeah.
I find honestly,
Yeah.
I find matriarchal societies really fascinating. I don't know much about them, but I do think that there must be something about that culture that we could bring more into our everyday life.
I think there's fascinating and amazing things in every culture that I do incorporate things from many cultures in my own life. I think it fascinates me. I love different cultures. I could never live just with one culture. I have, well, look, we're all from different backgrounds. I love that. I have friends from every background. Ironically, a lot of my friends live in many parts of the world. So good. I hope I get to that where I could go visit everybody. But I wouldn't be able to just live, one culture and that's it.
Going back to the last
it's so
episode that we
vast.
had, I would actually add that to my bucket list.
Yeah.
I would add being able to, I don't want to say explore because that
Manny,
makes
we
me
might be
sound
in
like
Dubai
a
by the end of
colonialist.
2015.
No, I'm saying.
but to be like to actually be in. Please take me to Dubai.
That was so
I
random.
just came back and back. Ego, shut up for a minute. But
Lady Anne,
air
please take me to Dubai.
59 degrees.
Okay.
My delicate
Miss-
black skin can't do that.
I have a question for the people at home,
Alright.
or on the bus, or in the pool, or wherever you're at listening to this podcast. We were wondering, right? We're trying to start a movement.
Yes,
We're
we
trying
are.
to start
We are.
a movement.
Yes, we are.
I had a dream.
Where are
Yes,
you
it's
from?
around that.
Where do you come from? What's a cool thing about your culture that you're proud of?
Right.
You know? Say if you're Canadian. My name is Bob. I'm from Canada, and this is why I'm proud to be Canadian. Please send us your comments, your
On
messages.
Twitter,
Absolutely.
Talking about
it.
Yes. On Instagram at Talk Post. Link us up there because we have awesome pictures available for you all day or day.
Of our feet.
and hashtag we are one.
Yes.
Hashtag
Really?
we are one.
We are one at the end
But
of
tell
the
us
day.
why you're proud to be from Australia, Nigeria, Dubai,
Why don't we start the wave right now?
And
Argentina,
That's
whatever.
it. Everywhere. Wherever, please. And if you're from Mars, I know one of you was going to say you're from Mars.
Yeah, we
Don't
want to know
write
why
us.
you like it.
Annoying. But anyway, yes.
We don't
and,
discriminate, so if you're from Mars, let us know why you like being from Mars.
and say hello to our lovely Manny. Thank you so much,
Ah,
Manny.
it's been a
Thank
pleasure,
you
girls.
so much.
Pleasure's all mine.
But wait, before we wrap up though,
But I
right?
want-
we
I
should
wanna-
we should do it. We should
And
start
I
the
want to
wave.
ask Manny something before.
Please.
What do you miss about home? Canada.
What do you miss
Today.
about
We miss you.
This.
Right.
This.
Because this is amazing. Just women and men, how everyone can be so open.
Yeah.
It's very, I miss that a lot. The openness of
I
Canada.
miss you though.
Yeah.
Oh.
And such a pleasure, girlies.
Seriously, it's the first time I meet her and I missed her.
You know what I mean?
I'm like, I really miss you, man.
Well, we might end up all in Dubai and do the new Sex in the City. The
Right?
real one.
The real deal.
Okay, first of all, whoever has sex on a camel and gets us like
You know-
arrested,
you know who-
I'm gonna kick your behind. I'm just saying.
While drinking
Well, you know
expensive
what?
champagne.
You know what? It would probably be me to think about something like that, but since there's no lawyers amongst any of you, I'm not doing it.
No.
Oh, and if you're a lawyer
No.
and you're
No.
fun, call us. We need another friend.
But wait, before we wrap up,
Yeah.
can we all go around and say why we're proud to be
Yes,
where
okay.
we're from?
Yes,
Sure.
definitely.
Please,
and say where
Dee.
you're from.
Please, D. Shoot.
Where are you from?
Um,
What's your culture?
well, my parents are from Burundi, but this is a complicated story. My parents are from Burundi. I was born in Switzerland, but I'm basically from here. But from the culture of my parents, I would say that the thing that I'm proud of the most is that sense of community.
Yes.
There's a just it's huge. The sense of, and it's a small country. It's a very small
Tiny,
country,
man.
you know. But the sense of community is crazy. And like yesterday, I was at a wedding, and somebody told me that they had a friend from Burundi, and I was like, "Give me a last name. I know her for sure."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
Yeah.
The big sense of community.
Yeah.
So boom, shout out to Burundi.
Bra, bra,
Hashtag
bless. I like it. Miss Lady Andy, what you got?
Thank you, Nigerians, for being freaking awesome. I'm like royalty everywhere I go. You guys are enterprising. Anyway, thank you for Nollywood. Thank you for the history, like the unwritten story that just flows in the blood. Like I know. So just thank you, Canada, which I'm from. You can't get rid of me. Thank you so much for the freedom to allow me to be exactly who I am, and for the challenges that come with that. And thank you for this like you said, for this where we're sitting now and being able to talk and just be real and feel safe and get home on time.
And drink
Thank
wine.
you. And thank you, Earth. Thank you for putting up with our crap. Okay.
Yes.
All right. This beautiful, beautiful globe. Thank you, Earth. And I hope that we all find a way to be all one, even in
Yes.
just a moment.
Hashtag we
Don't
are
need to
one.
know.
Hashtag we are
one.
I am like Diane, though I was not born in Switzerland. I was born in Montreal, Canada. My parents are from Burundi. I think that, yes, I would agree, the sense of community is insane. Sometimes it was shoved down my throat. I was like, I don't care about the community. But my dad was like, you're coming anyway. And now I look back and I'm like, wow, that was so important. You know,
Yeah.
like it was so necessary for me to go and be surrounded by people that are from my country, you know, and they'll show up and they'll bring food at your house if you're going through a hard time, and I'm really grateful for that. I must say though that I'm very much a Canadian. Like Miss Lady Andy, I would say that that's the ability to be who I am. You know, thank you Canada for being peaceful as fuck. I've been reading all those memes and all those things where they describe Canadians and make me laugh, you know, because it's true. We're not.
What's going on in
Yeah,
the States?
You're gonna
We're
bump
really-
into somebody and
We're
say
pretty
sorry.
peaceful kids, you know, like we're all right, you know. So thank you Canada for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Boom.
Zips.
Oh, thank you for Medicare. Which is still we have to talk about.
Yes.
But for real, thank you
It's
though.
true. Thank you.
I'm gonna start it in Spanish.
Please.
Viva Argentina, mucho amor para mi gente latina out there. I love my culture. I love everything about it. I'm very proud to be Latina. I'm proud to be Argentinian. and I'm really, really proud of our values. And same way, I was raised in Canada. I appreciate everything that Canada, like Medicare. I put it out there. But I love my people. You know?
Yes. The food. The food, though.
The food.
I forgot to mention that.
The passion.
I thought we could only say one.
The
thing.
beauty.
I'm like, what?
No, the beauty, the food, the culture, the values, the
Yes.
everything. I love it.
Thank you, Argentina, for your men.
And for the women, excuse me.
And for Miss Sybil.
Right.
All the other ladies, I don't need to talk to y'all. Show me your. Okay, never mind. That was bad. Cut.
So big up, mi gente latina.
And Manny, please.
Well, I'm from a little town called Nelson, so 10,000 people.
Oh. Wow.
So I'm a small town girl, but big city girl at heart.
Okay.
And I'm
Real
Italian.
Canadian. Yeah.
And I would say, like, if I had to be really grateful for something, it would most definitely be that we come from a matriarchal family. Italian women are definitely running things, and all of my aunties and all of my mom and everybody is making the money, running things, setting the precedent. So I'm very fortunate. That's probably how I've traveled all over the world alone and not been scared to do it. It's just because the women are so strong in my family. So that's what I love about the Italian culture, and not the men.
You guys
Sorry.
You're not sorry. You're not.
Before.
Sorry,
She's not sorry.
And
We
we're
don't
not
know.
either.
Well, I wouldn't know. I've never been with an Italian man, so I don't know.
No,
but
I do love the men. I do. It's a love-hate thing.
it's a passionate thing. We Latin people understand each other, right? Yes.
So please, once again, for you guys listening, let us know what you're proud about. Where are you from? And let us know cool things that we wouldn't necessarily know about your culture. Hashtag #WeAreOne on our Twitter at Talking About It, on our Instagram at TalkTalkPost. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/LTAI podcast. Y'all.
Big up your village.
Big up your tribe.
Be proud.
Yes. And make sure to tune in for the next episode of Let's